What's up, Flocket Model Railroaders? Alan here with Mason-Dixon Railroad. Today we're in Strasburg, Pennsylvania, and this place is basically rail fan Disneyland. You've got the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania, the Strasburg Railroad, the Choo Choo Barn, a hobby shop, and even a motel made out of cabooses. And on top of all that, it's model railroad days at the museum. So we've got everything from 1-to-1 scale iron giants down to Lionel, HO, and N scale running around them. And if you're into real trains, model trains, or just like the sound of a good whistle echoing across farm fields, this is your kind of day. Let's start with where we're standing, the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. This place is dedicated mainly to the Pennsylvania Railroad, but it covers a lot of broader railroad history too. When you walk in, you're greeted by this huge hall full of locomotives and rolling stock. It's one of those places where you instantly feel small, but in a good way. If you visit, don't forget the outside stuff. There is construction of a new roundhouse, so a lot of it is closed off as of the summer of 2026. Don't forget there are also a lot of walk-through and in-cab areas, and they change from time to time. So I have a picture of me in the engineer's seat of the blue Conrail. Just to ground this for anyone planning a trip, the museum is at 300 Gap Road in Strasburg, Pennsylvania. It's literally across the street from the Strasburg Railroad, so you can park once and spend the whole day bouncing between real steam and preserved history. Typically, the hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Always check their website before you come, but if you're here on a weekend, that 10 to 4 window is a safe bet. Plan to spend at least a few hours depending on how deep you want to go. Let's talk about some of the stars of the show in here. You've got the GG1, one of the most iconic electric locomotives ever built. Standing next to it, you really appreciate how long and tall and sleek these things are. They were built for speed and power, but they still look like something out of a sci-fi movie. If you model the PRR or even just like electrics, this is a must-see. Then there's the steam power. Big freight haulers, passenger engines, switchers, each one tells a different story. Heavy coal drags over the mountains, fast passenger trains heading into this big city, terminals. You can walk right up to them, look at the running gear, the rods, the valve gear, and think about how you translate that into model form. The freight cars are another gold mine. Box cars, hoppers, tank cars, maintenance of way equipment. This is where you get your weathering inspiration. You can see how rust actually forms on the ladders, how grime builds up on the ends, how faded the lettering gets after decades in service. And of course, cabooses. You know I've got a soft spot for cabooses. Seeing full-size cabooses up close gives you a sense of how cramped but cozy they were. You can imagine crews riding the end of the train, watching the line in front of them, doing paperwork, making coffee. It's a whole vibe. From a modeler's perspective, this museum is basically a giant reference library. You can take photos of paint schemes, lettering, weathering patterns, and details you'd never notice from a distance trackside. If you're into HO or N scale, this is how you get your models to look right. Not just clean out of the box, but like they've actually lived a life on the rails. And even if you don't model the PRR specifically, the techniques and patterns you see here apply to almost any railroad. Now, the cool thing about Strasburg is that the museum isn't just sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Right across the street, you've got the Strasburg Railroad, a living, breathing, steam-powered railroad. The Strasburg Railroad is one of the oldest continuously operating railroads in the United States. Today it runs tourist trains through beautiful Amish farmland. You get steam locomotives pulling vintage coaches, crossing roads, rolling past fields and farmhouses. It's one of those places where you can stand by the tracks and feel like you've stepped back in time. They run all kinds of special trains: wine and cheese trains, holiday trains, sometimes themed events. But on a regular day, just riding behind steam through this landscape is worth the trip. If you're a rail fan with a camera, this is B-roll heaven. You can get shots of trains crossing the road, shots from the station, shots from the open-air cars, and then you can walk back over to the museum and compare what you just saw in motion to the preserved equipment inside. I've done a few of the rides myself. I remember the wine and cheese train, and I also rode Thomas with my daughter when she was little. I've rail fanned it many times and even got to see the 611 in the shops and running on the road. All right, let's get into the model railroad days itself. This is where the full-size history meets the miniature world we all obsess over at home. During model railroad days, the museum hosts layouts in different scales. This year, there were Lionel O, HO scale, and N scale. You've got clubs, individuals, and groups bringing in their best work. Trains are running, scenery is on display, and you can walk right up to the layouts and see how people build their worlds. Lionel O is the big, bold, nostalgic stuff. These are the trains a lot of people grew up with: heavy locomotives, chunky cars, three-rail track, and that classic Lionel sound and smell. O-scale has presence. When an O-scale train rolls by, you feel it. Most of these now are modern command control setups. It's great for kids because it's big and easy to see, but it's also great for adults who want the toy train under the Christmas tree feeling all year. HO is the sweet spot for a lot of us. It's big enough to have great detail, but small enough that you can build a serious layout in a normal room. At the 2026 Model Railroad Days, we see HO layouts with realistic operations, detailed scenery, and a mix of railroads, both modern and steam. This is where you can really study techniques, how people do trees, roads, structures, track work. You can watch trains running through scenes and think about how you design your own main line, yard, or industrial area. N scale is small but mighty. If you want long main lines, big yards, and wide open spaces in a limited room, N scale is your friend. At model railroad days, the N scale layouts often surprise people. There's a lot of detail packed into a small footprint. You can see entire towns, multiple industries, and long trains that look right in proportion to the scenery. It's perfect for folks who want to model big railroads but don't have a basement the size of a warehouse. One of the best parts of events like this is talking to the layout builders. You can ask how they did a certain scene, what materials they used, how they planned operations. Most model railroaders love to share tips. This is the social aspect of the hobby. The modelers are here to share any questions you may have. If you're stuck on your own layout, a day at Model Railroad Days can kick you out of that rut. You see something cool and suddenly you're thinking, I could do that on my railroad, but with my own twist. Just down the road, you've got the Choo Choo Barn. This is a huge animated model railroad display, about 1,700 square feet. There are over 20 trains running at once, and almost everything moves. Cars, people, fire trucks, carnival rides, construction equipment. It's one of those places where you can stand in front of the layout for 20 minutes and still notice new details. If you're into animation and little scenes that tell stories, this is pure inspiration. And just next to the Choo Choo Barn is the Strasburg Hobby Shop, where you can pick up rolling stock, track, scenery, and all the little bits you didn't know you needed until you saw them. It's dangerous in the best way. You spend the day looking at trains, and then you walk into the shop and think, well, I guess I do need another caboose. Are multiple cabooses a flock of cabooses? Anyway, speaking of cabooses, there is also the Red Caboose Motel, where you can literally sleep in a caboose. They've turned a whole bunch of cabooses into motel rooms. It's quirky, it's fun, and it's perfect if you want your railfan trip to be full immersion. You wake up in a caboose, spend the day at the museum and Strasburg Railroad, hit the Choo Choo Barn, maybe grab something at the hobby shop, and then crash in your caboose room. That's a pretty solid railfan itinerary. And then don't forget the Toy Train Museum is just up the road from the Caboose Motel. They have many displays in many scales, even Lego. Strasburg is one of those rare places where real trains, preserved trains, and model trains all live within a few minutes of each other.